Madagascar is a large island off the western coast of Africa. Madagascar's approximate size is 226,000 square miles, which is similar to the size of France. It boasts a wide variety of landscapes including mountains, deserts, and a plethora of waterfalls. Surrounded by water on all sides, the nearest landmass is the continent of Africa, with Mozambique being the closest country. Madagascar ranks the fourth largest island in the world. As of 2019, the approximate population of Madagascar is around 26 million people, which has been steadily increasing in the past years. The people of Madagascar are called the Malagasy people. The literacy rate as of 2018 is nearly 75% of the population. This has been steadily increasing in the past years as well. The number of individuals that are enrolled in schools as of 2019 reflects that approximately 142% of the population is enrolled in primary school. Madagascar has a relatively low emissions level, emitting only 0.13 million tons of emission. The majority of the emissions come from burning fossil fuels. Madagascar was originally settled by humans around 2,000 years ago. The origins of these early inhabitants are not known, but they are speculated to have come from Indonesian or those of mixed Indonesian and African descent. The first foreign influence was made by Arab traders in 800 AD. The first trading occurred in the northern coast of the island. The first Europeans arrived on the island in 1500 by mistake. They were headed to India but were caught in a storm and landed on the island instead. Around the mid-1500s, many European nations like France, Portugal, and Great Britain came to the island to set up forts. All the attempts to set up forts failed due to the forceful fighting of the Malagasy warriors. There were no states or empires, instead capitals were placed near rivers to accompany trade. Most of the indigenous people lived in the central highlands of the island. In the 1650s, the central part of the island of Madagascar started to develop dynasties. Many of these dynasties prospered in the coming years. They were even able to set up working trade posts with the French who had colonized nearby islands. Ramada I, the first king of Madagascar, allied himself with Great Britain to avoid French influence. Upon his death, his wife took control of Madagascar and quickly began to sever ties with all European nations, leading to an island isolated from European influence. Ramada II took over the country after the death of his mother. He encouraged European influence. Shortly after being overthrown, the head of the army became the prime minister, and many progressive changes were made, like requiring school under the direction of local Christian ministries. Eventually, military occupation of the capital by the French caused the prime minister to sign a treaty with the French. French occupation spread throughout the island, but was met with guerrilla warfare from the indigenous people who opposed French rule in Madagascar. In 1896, Madagascar was classified as a French colony. Following the exile of the Queen in 1905, the island reached unification under French rule. The new government was composed of leaders from France as well as local Malagasy leaders. Learning French was made mandatory in local schools. Taxes were put in place that favored the French products over the local Malagasy products. The French helped spark the development of humanitarian services like healthcare. In 1913, the French-driven railroad project was completed, and by 1935, the French had built a working airport and developed a plethora of roads for cars on the island. The majority of the exports from Madagascar were agriculture-based, including products like rice, rubber, and graphite. 75% of all the trade Madagascar was involved in was with France. Europeans influenced local farmers to grow coffee, vanilla, and tobacco. After failed attempts at making Madagascar a French department, the British took rule, which was followed by a period of South African rule in 1942, eventually leading to Madagascar to fall back into the hands of the French. In 1947, Madagascar's political limbo with the French led to a series of violent uprisings. During these years, French influence was of greater popularity than those of the local Malagasy elites. In 1958, Madagascar was given the option to vote for autonomy by the French. On June 20th of 1960, Madagascar gained its independence from France. In 1975, Dider Retruska took control of the country as a dictator. Retruska ruled over Madagascar until 2001, attempting to guide the new country through political unrest and economic depressions. Retruska was replaced with Marc Ravomola, who vowed to bring democracy to the country. He is still president of Madagascar. Each of Madagascar's presidents has had to deal with political unrest, trying to find the balance between French influence and the local Malagasy culture. The problem still exists. Regardless, Madagascar's economy has continued to improve in recent years.